The courageous conversations. This has been my month for courageous conversations, and it's been in pretty much every part of my life. But of course the big part has been with my job and with resigning from my current job, the conversations that went like this. I would really love to stay where I am, but unfortunately, based on the current remuneration, I feel I'm unable to. Will you be able to pay me some more money? Because if you're not, I'm going to have to look for another job. And hearing, no, we can't. And that was really hard. I felt I didn't want to press the point, even though I believe the organisation could afford to pay me more. Just in case you're wondering, my base salary is $28,000 a year. So my argument is that actually if you can't afford to pay a CE more than that as a base salary, you've got bigger problems than your CE leaving. But I feel I've done my best to try and change that, and I have increased the profitability of the organisation, and I know that they appreciate that, but I think there is a fear of what will happen when I go. Can a new person do that? Of course they can, because nobody is indispensable, but that's where we're at. So it was really hard having to say, tell my clients and tell people that that I was leaving. Generally I didn't tell people it was because of the money. However, I feel I need to be honest, even in a gentle way, about that, for fear of setting an expectation for someone else coming in. Also the courageous conversations with my new employer about what the job is going to look like, what will I need to do, how do I manage those relationships with people that don't want to see this change. And the next 12 months for me is probably going to be about treading very, very carefully. I was asked, what do you hope to achieve in the first year? And my response to that was, I'd like to think I've got to the end of the first year, we're solvent and people like me, and I think if I can achieve those two things and not scare away people, then that will be a success. This is an organisation with 40 or 50 years of history of hard-working volunteers, and that's changing due to outside forces like the funders. So it's a big change, and there's going to be a lot of conversation and a lot of listening, and that's the bit for me that is the challenge, and that I need to get better at, is the pause between cause and effect, or whatever those words were. The other thing that's on my mind at the moment is the refugee project, or the group project. That too was something I felt that if I were in the chamber I could add so much more value to, simply because we have those things available for that group. So I've run a program in the past that taught refugees how to run their own business in New Zealand, and there's quite a few around the Waikato that have been through that program, and it's been really successful. So it might be that in fact I can transition that work somewhere else, but I think that there's a huge opportunity for the Chamber of Commerce to get involved in that and add some quite tangible value, particularly for those people that come that are highly skilled but are unable to get employed by someone. And I've seen lots of them, particularly from the Middle East, that have come here and done really well. I'm not quite sure where orchestras would fit in that, whilst it's nice to say that there'll be lots of them that are musical or that can enjoy culture, and it's part of New Zealand culture. I think that that's right at the end, and actually the things that we need to be supporting that group with in the short term and the flourishing families is those basic needs, shelter, food, safety, which come from being employed or working for yourself as an option for employed. I saw huge commitment from the people I worked with that just knew that that was their best option for getting a business, selling into their own communities, but so what, it got them involved in New Zealand society quite quickly. So I maybe that I can add value in that thing. One of the notes I'd written down from Saturday was slowly but suddenly, and thinking about that, things take a long time to happen and then they happen all of a sudden. My new job's been a bit like that. Studying was a bit like that. I'm about to start some house renovations, and that's been a bit like that, lots and lots of talk, and now all of a sudden there's a big bill and a line of workmen ready to go. I found the visits really helpful on Friday, and particularly hearing Craig talk about the challenges with having organisations around the country that are delivering the same things but with slightly different views and branding and cultures, and I think that that's a really common thing, particularly in for purpose, that it's easy to get siloed, which is a horrible cliche, but I think it's true, and I could see a lot of similarities between what's happening at hospice and what's happening within the chamber movement, and potentially probably within the orchestras as well. So I'm quite keen to meet with him again and talk to him some more about that stuff. Yeah, really inspired going and listening to the principal at Road Street. So yeah, to hear Shane talking about his journey and what he's doing, I found that fascinating. But a very forceful personality, and he talked a lot about humility, but I wouldn't have used that as a word to describe him. Self-effacing possibly, but not humble. So that was kind of a challenging way of looking at leadership for me. That said, he's achieved everything he wants to achieve, and he does, and I find that really thought-provoking and inspiring to see someone that's so focused and just makes things happen. So with apparent ease, although I know that it isn't, but with what appears to be buy-in from his community. Busy month for me now, with straddling 2 jobs, getting out of one into the next. No prospects for the current job, mainly because the salary is so poor. It's really hard to attract someone into the role. Work to be done on the new role, and yeah, tucked in with end of year things. So yeah, the next month for me is going to be very busy, and I'll need to be very sure that I'm looking after me in that time, which I tend to be not very good at. Maybe there's some courageous conversation there too. Right, have a great week, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time.